maps, or these US Army maps, which contain much more detail about villages, about roads, and put it on top of each other, hurry with different kind of transparency. So you can probably take Google as the background and then put this with 50% transparency on top. I can probably show you an example. There's a guy, he's also a Belgian guy, who is kind of good in this kind of stuff. He is located in Sri Lanka. Alfonso is his name, let me just search. He actually sent me a couple of very nice examples where he again took a different source of data. He downloaded some maps from the NASA. maps. So NASA again which was like topography maps generated by satellites from the NASA, and he superimposed these on top of the Russian Army maps. So the result was quite interesting actually. Let me just find the email and then I'll just show you back. I don't think it's this one basically. So here what he did is basically, let me show you this. So this is another source. I've not yet checked it out myself. This is again topography. Here they don't use topo lines, but here they use colors to show the differences in altitude. Green means plain, low altitude. Okay, one side of the spectrum, and then the red is the other side of the spectrum, which is the highest mountains. So here you can even more clearly see, right? Here you can see clearly that there are some very deep, which basically means valleys, which basically mean major streams that cuts into the high surrounding hills. So he took this. So this data is also downloadable through some FTP site somewhere on the web. These maps are again nice in the sense that they have been scaled, so you can see 13 degrees, 13 degrees, and 46 minutes north. This is like 1 minute difference. So this is these 2 centimeters correspond again to 1 mile, 1.8 kilometers. So this basically he took and then he superimposed the Russian Army maps, 50% transparency, and then basically you create a very nice map. You have a perfect topology. And on top of that, again, you have all those, this is Russian maps, so sorry, these are Russian names. But again, you will see the streams. And you can see it's perfectly matching. Where the NASA says green, the valleys, the Russians independently confirm that there are some streams here. So these dash lines, these are like major streams. So you can see that it's pretty much matching wherever the valleys are. As sensed by the NASA satellites, you can see the hand-drawn Russian Army maps that have like an amazing precision exactly in the center of the valley the rivers are placed. So here again you can see the Russians also were aware of these jeep tracks throughout the mountains. So, and that's possible, you can do a lot of these things. But before you superimpose obviously independent bitmaps, what you need to do is you need to scale these bitmaps because without otherwise you cannot put them on the proper position, of course. You need to really put the scaling on top of that. There is some tool, he was telling me some tool which is called, I think it's called GPS method or something. I can forward some information on that, which allows you to put a scale on top of a map, and then you can basically start superimposing maps. Any other questions before we proceed? Hari? Yeah, definitely. So once we are through these different types of maps, we'll have a hands-on session. Yeah, because one important thing is that we cannot download these bitmaps into the GPS. So these, as long as it's just stupid bitmaps on the screen, they are completely useless. I cannot download it in a GPS. GPS is only work with vector maps because the GPS allows you to zoom in, zoom out. So obviously a bitmap is not useful. This will only be showing you the terrain at one fixed zoom level. At GPS, you can only download like vectors like Tails and or Gorman with that topographic maps. So bitmaps are completely useless. Google Maps are completely useless for GPS. So we'll definitely come back to that, buddy. Somebody else had a question? I'm not sure of the our friends are using these maps. But I'm sure, Bala, that they would be aware of the, obviously, the in-house Serbia Windham maps. And again, I mean, if those forest officers indeed frequently enter the jungle on some of these jeep trails with their Mahindra jeeps, I guess they should be aware of. Obviously, I mean, some of the watchtowers we find, some of the houses we found in the middle of nowhere, I'm sure that the forest department would be aware of that. Frequently, we see burned down places where they systematically burn down vegetation on top of the mountains, I guess, for fertilization. So definitely, I think they're pretty much aware of their place. And other questions, people, before we go to the next section? Anybody who has dialed in through WebEx wants to unmute and ask any questions, please speak up. Everyone remains quiet. Yeah, there. Okay, let me just unmute. Well, has overwritten all of you guys. Well, which icon do I go to? Orange one, yeah. Okay, no question. Okay, guys, so in case maybe you're all muted, so in case you have any questions, just pop them up through the chat window in WebEx. So, yeah. Let me expand a little bit. I'm not seeing the screen area. So I hope, I mean, everything is clear now for the WebExes in terms of audio and screen. If not, please let us know. Let me just keep this a little bit visible on the bottom of the screen. So, okay. So this was part one. I mean, I've shown you some different types of maps. Some of these are higher scale, some of these are lower scale, some of these are hand-drawn, some of these are like I mean, automatically generated through satellites. Russian topo maps, I saw that the link has become embedded, so maybe due to some security concerns, we have to move these maps. Not sure. Anyway, many of the maps have been downloaded, so I can always get them in case you need them. Russian topographic maps have the benefit that they are a little bit high resolution, so in 1 centimeter corresponds to 2 kilometers, where the Americans have 2.5 kilometers, so it's a bit more detailed. And typically they are pretty much clear also. Only problem with Russian army maps is that all the names of the cities and the locations are in Russian. It's not a big deal because, I mean, the alphabet is a bit similar. You can typically recognize the name, but it's a bit tougher. Okay, so that's section one, different types of maps that you can use. Now let's take a look at GPS. So I'm just going to make it easy for everyone to follow here. We have got a lot of people. So let's project a user manual of one of the GPS we have been using. And let's go through some of the key screens and key features of any GPS. Again, some of this is pretty basic for some of you who might have used this stuff. But let me start with the basics so everyone is there. This is the Garmin Vista. This, you have different types of GPSs again, right? So many people might be, I mean, have heard of GPSs. Many of the GPSs are more like models